look at the film against Arizona. What did you see? What were the notes you made?
Defensively, they kind of did whatever they wanted in the second half. I felt that was the biggest difference. We weren't able to hold them. When we got it to 10, a couple of times we had a couple open shots that could have put some game pressure on them that we missed, and so those timely shots didn't make what. We can't give up 57 points, and so better rim protection, keeping Braxton out of foul trouble, more active on the perimeter, and it's kind of what we do, and we didn't do it well.
Langston is getting more minutes. Can you tell us a little bit about Langston?
Yeah, Langston has been working hard. He's been a great teammate. He's been positive. He brings good energy, and that's what we love about Langston. So, anytime that you get an opportunity and you come in and you bring something positive to the table, he doesn't need the ball to make things happen, from offensive rebounding to extra possessions. That's going to be a positive for us.
That was a tough game against a good team. You're two young guards, you're two freshman guards. What can you say? Did that help, or are they just no longer freshmen anymore?
I tell them all the time they're not freshmen anymore. They've already played 20-something games, but they're going to make mistakes. But being in those moments, playing against the tough teams, they see what those teams look like physically, how you have to execute. Every possession matters, all those things, where in high school their margin for error was a lot different, being the best players in a lot of those situations. So I think all these are just great learning opportunities to just help them get better.
Is Arizona that much different with Tommy Lloyd being there? Can you tell any difference really, or is it just the same stuff?
You know what? They're, what I would say about that is I thought Sean Miller was known as a great defensive coach, and Tommy is known as a great offensive coach. And when he took over, they had a system, and I think, with that offense, it's changed the dynamic with really good. And Tommy he's just a good all-around coach. Like they play good, solid defense, just like they did at Gonzaga. But it kind of is that combination of they had that defensive mentality and now coming into a fun offensive, fast system with some still, defensive type players or philosophy. So I think it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, past 2 weeks. What's going on with Braxton Meehan?
Yeah.
He's not the same player.
Yeah. He's the guy's. He's had to take a big step, not only minutes wise, but then I remember at the end of Isaiah's season, I could just see how worn he was because all the defenses and the physical play and the up and down. And I was taught a long time ago, big guys have to go from baseline to baseline. Guards go from foul line to foul line. And it's a little bit rougher in the trenches. And so, it's just part of the wear and tear. And, this is new to him. And so I think you're seeing a fatigued, kind of battered Braxton. But this is why these 3 and 4 days are really good for him. That practice, those reps. We talked about, Utah. At Utah, they just started double teaming him on the catch, and they're coming from the top, they're coming from the bottom. Guys are trying to hit him early, so he's not able to get good position early. All those things are growing pains, per se. But he's had some incredible moments, and he'll just keep getting better and better. But the last 4 games, he hasn't been as impactful as he's been in the previous 4 games before that.
Anything they think you guys can do? Obviously he was at his best when he's catching that lob,
Yeah.
and as you said, the other teams scout too,
Yeah.
and they see that,
Yeah.
and they're trying to take it away. What's the counter?
I think the biggest thing is now it just goes back to he has to find other ways to be as effective. Like, how do you expose that? I don't think we do a good enough job of finding him in transition. I think he runs as good as any big guy, and sometimes something that we've talked about focusing. Another thing where Braxton's really good is Braxton's a really good passer, and so he has the ability. It might not be one-on-one. It might be you play through him and he's a ball reverse guy into another screen and screen it for somebody else. The screener's the most dangerous player because teams have to help off. So we've got to be creative too. But with that, there's a learning curve. There's a feel part of it. They've taken away the lob. They're backpedaling into it. And we've just got to find creative ways. And every team is a little bit different. Some people on ball screen defense hard hedge. Some people drop. Some people ice, which are all different ways to defend it. And he's getting an education on every single one. And that's where we have to evolve too. And when you have young guards, a young big guy, and those types of things, there's going to be some growing pains.
And like his shot, does he have a mid-range? I mean, like, we haven't seen.
No, he's really improved his foul shooting. That's the thing about it. And I don't even know what's he gone to the foul line in the last 4 games. Before it was like you weaken the defense by getting other big guys in foul trouble. It's been vice versa. Ballo has 1 foul. Braxton has 4. You go to Brandon Carlson has 1. He has 5. It needs to be. We need to flip that because he is. When he gets it deep down there, he's tough to defend for sure.
One of the things that the Arizona game to me felt different.
Yeah.
It just seemed it was a lot more physical than what I've seen
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah.
Getting towards that end of the season grind, and everybody's trying to get into a tournament and get into postseason is what we're going to look forward to. Is the end of the year is things getting a lot more physical.
I think the one thing I do like about the Pac-12 this year is I think they've let teams play more physical. I actually really like it. We had an East Coast official at the Arizona State game, and he actually might have done one of my games when I played back in the old Big East. I don't want to date myself, but he at least when I was coaching there in the Big East, and he was just talking about, reminds me of the Big East a little bit. I'm like, well, it's not that bad, but the physical play, they've allowed it. And I actually like it. But on the flip side, with how we're built right now, Braxton's really him and Jackson are our 2 big physical guys. And when Braxton gets in foul trouble, we just, it just changes everything when we lost Frank, we had that other guy.
Does playing a more physical game, does that benefit you, or is it?
I think it's if a team's more physical than you and they allow them to play that physical style, it benefits the team that's the physical team. So that's just what it is, and we have to adapt to it. We have to, learn from it. Not too many teams play old school. Arizona is one of those old school teams that play 2 big guys. They're comfortable with it. You'll see a lot of teams. It's usually 1. They can go both. Tubelis and Ballo are like Ballo's a big physical, strong. That's why we felt going into the season with the 2 bigs that we had an advantage over a lot of people. A lot of people only have 1. We had 2.
And I hate to bring it back to your freshman guards, but when the play gets that physical,
it's different.
2 freshman guards equipped to handle that.
Not yet. They're learning, but it goes back to the same thing. It's all an adjustment. Now you're going against, Courtney Ramey or Curson. It's not like they're big and physical, but they're bigger and more physical than our young guys. That's why, you become a freshman, you take that summer, you get in the weight room, you get bigger, more physical, you have the answers to the test, and look forward to having a great sophomore year. But I think they're doing a good job right now. It's just, that's the adjustment, and that's the, even the speed of the game and the pressure and all those different things you saw in Colorado in certain moments where they've got those are growing moments, and they'll get better and better from it.
How have you guys improved then from like the beginning of the season until now?
That we've won some games, like to be able to win at Colorado, finding a way and really doing that. I feel like we've just struggled with consistency. That's where the struggle's been. And that goes back to both ends. Sometimes our offense looks like we've never played together, and sometimes our offense against really high-level teams looks like a well-oiled machine. But that's what you get a little bit with, we talk about Braxton just being new, and, the game's changing compared to the beginning. We've got to evolve with that. The 2 young guards, they're playing significant minutes now. But, we've got to get better, Percy, to move forward in this. The young guys got to be better defensively. Braxton, Arizona shot 81% at the rim, and we were in foul trouble. We've got to be, our defense has been, I think we have a 80% winning percentage when we hold teams under 70 points. That's kind of been our formula, and we've got to do a better job in that.
Since I saw some stat that was on the broadcast of the Arizona game, since January, like the turn of the year, and you guys with like the turnovers, it's like some crazy number. What's going on with the turnovers since the past 2 months?
Yeah, you know what? We've, the turnover thing has been real. We've been able to, I forget who gave me the stat the other day, our top 6 games that we've played this year, we've had our highest turnover games, but we're 5-2 in those games, which you can't really explain. Now, the one thing I will say, and we were juggling with it with the staff, was maybe, we try to give our guys a lot of confidence offensively, and sometimes with that confidence, you maybe try to do too much, and you overplay possibly, and that could be a reason why you're turning it over. But some of the turnovers, stepping out of bounds on the sideline, those things can happen. Those are self-inflicted. I'm okay with turnovers where you're trying to make the right play for a teammate. You're trying to make the right play. But with the young guys, they've got to get a lot better and be more consistent. That's one of the reasons why Keon Minifield's starting at the point. He's got a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio.
If a young Mike Hopkins was turning the ball over like that, would you have allowed that, or would sort of
would he allow that? If I was John Wallace, he would allow it. If I wasn't, I wouldn't. No, I was not even close. Everybody has a different, everybody has a different role. But there's certain roles and responsibilities. Keon Brooks has the ball a lot. He's going to turn it over sometimes. Braxton's starting to turn over. His turnovers are because he's getting all of a sudden double teamed and they're swarming him now. So he's got to learn how to deal with that. Noah Dickerson dealt with that in our first year. He had to get better at it, and he did. That's part of the development. That's part of growth. That's part of moving forward. But stepping out of bounds is controllable.
But when you have the freshman guards, though, do you just have to live with that?
You know what, Percy? I want them confident. I don't want them looking over their shoulder. I don't want them looking over, You win because you have confident players that play together. It just goes back to, yes.
The last couple of weeks, your rotation has definitely changed with Young and Corin getting more minutes, and PJ and Jamal not getting as going into this stretch run. Experience matters. It does.
Yeah.
Can we anticipate seeing the same rotation you're running now, or can we anticipate that changing a little bit?
You know what? It's one of those things. I look at efficiency, and another thing with young guys is when Corin was freshman of the week, he was shooting over close to 40% from the 3-point line. You got to be able to make shots. That's been one of our things, and when you got to surround Keon Brooks with guys that can make shots. Yeah, and that's kind of why those decisions are being made, But with like what Percy said, young guys are going to turn it over, but the veteran guys have turned it over too. And so it's kind of like that, what's the best combination? The one thing, all of them bring something great to the table. I think Jamal Bay is an elite defensive player in what we do. PJ Fuller, obviously, when he has great energy, he's another great defensive player in our zone. But it's the same thing. We're, that dependability, that consistency is what we've been looking for, and I feel like that's what we've been missing.
I guess it's got to be a little difficult as a coach to have experienced players to take a lesser role.
Not a lesser role, but not actually performing at a consistent level that you would expect a senior to do. I think that's the biggest thing. That was the most frustrating for me.
You're sitting at 98 wins here. Just, and again, I don't know if you feel anything about numbers and like whole numbers, but how big would 100 be for you to like get to like that benchmark?
You know what, Percy? To be honest with you, I want to go to the NCAA tournament. I want to go postseason. I want these guys to feel what I've experienced so many times in my life and what we did, 3 years ago. I want our fans to have it. I want our players to have it. That's what we fight for every day. And that's just what it is. That's the greatest thing about college basketball. You get hot at the right time, certain things can happen. But you got to believe, you got to do it together. And, there's been a lot of, this year, there's just been so many, I feel like this. But there's, Corn, I think, from redshirting and playing, I think he's a guy that just has so much potential. You see Minifield, they just have so much potential. You see Braxton, boy, after a year of this experience, what is his potential. Seeing Keon Brooks, I think our coaching staff does a phenomenal job with these guys and seeing his growth and how efficient he's been the last 5 or 6 games, where he's really taken that next step. And now it would just be fun to see everybody, like all those guys playing at a high level all at once. That's when I think, that's, as a coach, that's what you're trying to get to, and we're in that constant process of trying to get there.
Along the same lines, about sort of like career, sort of the milestones. With sort of Keon, he hit 1,000 points. I think sort of Noah's close to 1,000 points. If it's not key for you, how big is it for like these players to like maybe hit that type of?
I think it's like any time, those are special, there's special things, getting 1,000 points, or, for these high school kids, it's making McDonald's All-American, or it's All-State, or it's All-Metro, or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, it's a team game, and no one really does it themselves. It's always with a group of people. It always does. After watching the playoffs in football and seeing Patrick Mahomes get interviewed at the end, it's all about his teammates. It's all about his offensive line. It's all about other guys making plays, and that's what makes it such an incredible team sport. And but yes, to be able to score 1,000 points, you're a pretty heck of a player. You've had a pretty darn good career.
UCLA, USC.
Yep.
It's not an easy road trip.
No. Listen. We dealt it on the front end where UCLA and the Arizona. But that's what makes it fun. That makes it a great challenge, going down there. UCLA's lost 2 in a row. They haven't been home since, I think it was January 14th or something. They're going to be excited. That's what you want. We get a chance to go play against another top 10 team, home, away, whatever. You got to play the game. And we've had some great moments on the road, and we've just got to, how do we become a better basketball team on this road trip? And today, how do we get better today? How do we prepare ourselves to beat a team of UCLA's caliber?
Anything you can take from that first game? I mean, what are the keys, I guess?
The keys against them is, obviously, Hopkins, they play through Hopkins and Tiger Campbell. The thing about great teams like UCLA is you target a couple of guys, and there's always that fourth guy, David Singleton or, Adem Bona. That's why they're a really good team. We're always just better when our offense is clicking. Even in the first half of the Arizona game, when the offense was clicking, our defense was pretty good. We still broke down, and it was a 2-point game at halftime, but we scored. We were shooting a high percentage. Second half, we just go through some periods where we struggle scoring, and then it kind of impacts our defense, which you hope it doesn't do, but it did. And that's what happens. We got to be able to be consistent. And the thing that we learned in the Arizona State game was even when our offense was really bad, we were 0 for 8, we had 7 turnovers in the first whatever, it was 12-0. Our defense was what kept us in the game, got us an offensive flow by getting out in transition. And so we've got to hang our hat there And to beat a team of UCLA on the road, you've got to really defend at a high level, but you also got to be able to score. You got to play your A game, and hopefully we will.
Thanks, Coach.